This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, welcome back. Ready to talk a little Miami Dolphins and a little NFL with my man Matt Verderame. But, before I go to the NFL or anything Miami Dolphins, what'd you think of that first-class moron move by our college football coach, Mario Cristobal?
I would have fired him. I really would have, on the spot, would have fired him. And I don't know the man at all. Not at all. Wouldn't have been able to pick him out of a lineup. But I got to tell you, that might be the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a football game. Did he ever give a reasoning why he didn't take a knee?
It's a thing that he doesn't do, actually. In Oregon, he lost the game a few years back doing the same stupid shit. And so apparently he doesn't do the victory formation shit. And
I would have fired him.
The whole year. Well, he's a former player, and he's done a great recruiting and all that kind of stuff. And so listen, I'm a Mario guy, but I got no excuses for what he did. I mean, that was king-size stupidity, It's like it's watching, Pete Carroll do it all over, It's like, dude, like common sense, and by the way, it's still the second worst decision in Hurricanes history. I want you to know that.
My God, what's the first?
Well, you're young. That's why you may not, you didn't live it. You might have been really like a tot when it was happening. How old are you?
35.
Yeah. The Fiesta Bowl with the Hurricanes.
Oh, Penn State.
Yes. You go back and look at that game. Alonzo Highsmith is averaging 6 yards a carry.
Okay.
He had like 120 yards on 18 carries. Vinny Testaverde threw 5 interceptions. Paterno flooded the zone, rushed 3 guys the whole game, 4 maybe at times if he wanted to add a guy, but it was 3 and flood 8 back there. And so they dared you to keep throwing. They dared you to run, but they kept throwing. And Vinny Testaverde, who's one of the great chokers of all time, he had thrown 4 interceptions in the Sugar Bowl the year before against Tennessee. So you're like, after the first interception, okay, enough. Let's just keep handing it off to Highsmith, who's killing them because of the formation. And they lost that game 10-7. And so it was a stupid decision for 4 quarters by Jimmy Johnson, not a bad decision at the moment by Mario Cristobal. And Jimmy would have won that game by 20 points easily. All he had to do was hand it off to Alonzo Highsmith the whole night, and he would have had 250 yards, and they would have dominated the clock, everything. And instead, Vinny throws 5 interceptions in that game.
Was that Jimmy's first year with them after Snow?
No. His first year, he lost to Frank Reich at the end of the year.
Oh, right. They were like 6-5 or something, right? Like his first year.
8-5. And they were up by 30 points or something like that. I forgot how much it was. It was something ridiculous. It was the greatest comeback. Frank Reich came back, and then Frank Reich would then come back to haunt us every time Jim Kelly would be out. Freaking Frank Reich would come in and beat the Dolphins. So it was like a recurring nightmare for us Canes and Dolphins fans having to deal with Frank Reich. It's funny.
Well, you're going to get Frank Reich this weekend.
Yeah, but he's going to get Frank Reich. That's the difference.
It's not going to be good.
It's not going to happen. He doesn't have Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith on his side this time around. So yeah, this time around, that's how's that? Because I was a Stroud guy. I would have taken Stroud 1.
So did I.
How's that so far looking? Where were you at with that?
I also had Stroud 1. I agree with you. I get nervous about quarterbacks who are really small. I don't care if you're a little undersized, but when you're that undersized, I think it matters. And I know we live in this age where, God forbid you say that, then you're like this guy, you hate on him. Oh, you're a hater. Look, no, this is reality. Bryce Young is tiny. He's tiny. And it makes it harder to see over the line. It makes it harder to stay healthy. Kyler Murray is short, but he's stockier. Bryce Young is...
And he can run like the wind. You can't catch him.
I mean, Bryce Young is none of those things. He is very, very small. He does not run. This is look, and I will say this to defend him though. They've done this kid no favor. They can't block anybody,
Right.
and so he's just back there getting killed play after play.
Yeah.
I wrote about this a little bit earlier. It was like week 2 or week 3. It was pretty obvious. And so look, they should stop worrying about whether they win games this year or not, because they're not going to win a lot of games. They're not good.
No.
All this should be about is this kid and just developing him and seeing what happens. Like, let him throw 20 picks. Let him throw the ball downfield. Who cares? Let him learn. But all they have him doing is throwing the ball 4 yards downfield every play. And it's not doing them any good. They're not winning. He's not learning. It's going to make him more gun shy in the future, in my opinion. Like, I just don't think any of this is helping him at all.
No, listen, we witnessed it down here when you don't have the right support for a quarterback and you're not doing the things that he needs in order to grow. And by the way, they did that to Andrew Luck.
Oh,
he was just so good,
right,
that he still lifted you up and took you all the way to an AFC championship game and all that with a terrible team around him, a terrible line, all that stuff. But he was that good that he could take you there. But you gave him very little to no support, throughout. And it is amazing to me. Like, you make an investment in a quarterback and then you don't do the things that they need in order to grow. And right now in the Indianapolis Colts, we should be talking about a Hall of Fame career that Andrew Luck has had, and that, he's had some success and all that kind of stuff, if you would have handled it the right way. You know what I'm saying? And that's the most screwed up thing in the world. And this happens all over the league. The Dolphins were doing it for 2 years with Flo here. You know what I mean? We saw David Carr get killed in Houston years ago. We have watched young quarterbacks come to this league and they don't have support. I don't care who you are, dude. Life is going to be a hell of a lot harder in this league.
Look, people always blame the player when they're a bust. But in reality, especially a quarterback, it is oftentimes, where do you go? Who is your coach? Who is around you? I mean, we've talked about this, right? Like, there are quarterbacks that I think come out of college that they're just not going to succeed for a variety of reasons, right? They just don't have the talent, whatever. They don't care enough, fine. There are other guys who I think if they went to different situations could have been good, but they didn't. They didn't go to different situations. They went to a bad situation. And then there are guys who they went to great situations. The Montanas of the world went to play for Bill Walsh. It worked out.
By the way, where was Steve Young before he landed in San Francisco? In Tampa Bay, looking absolutely horrible. And it's the same thing we have said about Peyton's dad being in New Orleans for all those years, and Steve Bartkowski. I've been around, dude. I've watched this game for 50 years. I've seen, like, Steve Bartkowski could have been a Hall of Fame quarterback in a different situation.
He went and played for the Falcons.
And Archie Manning would have been a hell of a lot better in a much better situation. And so this happens. It's been going on for decades, dude, that you get a quarterback and you just don't know how to handle him, dude. And it's terrible. It really is.
Some of these guys just have no chance. And then, like I said, there are other guys who go to the perfect spot. Montana. I mean, look at, like, it's been a topic of conversation. Look at Brock Purdy. Purdy. I mean, my God, you couldn't fall into a better situation. And then people take that as like a criticism of him. It's not. It's just, God bless him. It's great. Good for him. He fell into the right spot. If he's in Arizona, I mean, what is he? But you know what? He's not in Arizona. Like,
he's Colt McCoy. He's Colt McCoy in Arizona.
Probably. But, like, you know what? Not in Arizona. He's in San. That's the way it goes. Look.
And by the way, kudos to him, because he's smart. And he makes the right decisions on a consistent basis. And that makes you a good quarterback. And we have to give him that already. I get he's got the perfect team around him, but you still have to make the right decision and the right throw. And, dude, he seems to make it all the time. So you got to give him credit.
The best athletes I've ever seen in team sports are Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky. Okay, now I mean you can now get like Brady and Mahomes, but in terms of just like outside of football, I'm putting football aside. Michael Jordan never won anything until Phil Jackson showed up, until Scottie Pippen showed up. He was still amazing. He didn't win. He didn't win anything, right? Wayne Gretzky was put on an Edmonton Oilers team that had about 9 guys that went to the Hall of Fame. It's one of the most unbelievable collections of talent in North American sports history. And he left there earlier than the midway point of his career. And as great as he was, he went to one more final and he never won again. Like, you can be great, but a lot of what is around you matters. Brady went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. Went 10 years, right? I mean, a lot of it, look, Mahomes would have been great if you went to the Bears. Probably wouldn't have 2 Super Bowls and 3 appearances. Like, he went to the right place, man. He went and played for Andy Reid and had Tyreek Hill and had Travis Kelce, and like, it made him unbelievable. But I think sometimes people take that as a criticism. Like, look, these guys would have been great no matter where they were. But they wouldn't be the legendary, oh my goodness, look at all the rings they have. Look at all this stuff. If they didn't go and play with some other great players. That's sports. That's life. That's part of the draw. I mean, that's the way it goes. That's anybody in life. You know, I mean, any success you have in life is somewhat dictated by the circumstances around you, unless you are just an unbelievably rare case. And it's true in sports.
Two is the perfect example. In one team, you had the wrong person who couldn't build a staff, couldn't develop a quarterback on offense, and he had and it was hell to just keep his head above water. In comes McDaniel, who understands offense and blocking schemes and knows how to play design and then, you know, and works with the front office instead of fighting with the front office. And then look what they've done together, you know, and the kid's completely different. It's definitely environment. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, we got to give DeMeco Ryans a lot of credit. It's not just Stroud succeeding. Give DeMeco credit because clearly he was a quality human being and player and leader, and it has translated to being the same thing as a coach because he's done a marvelous job with the Texans, not just with CJ Stroud. Let's call it like it is. You know, DeMeco Ryans deserves some love there. He's doing a nice job there in Houston.
Oh, no question. He's done a great job. He's done a great job. And that's a team that won 10 games over the last 3 years combined. I mean, they're probably going to win 7, 8 games this year. I mean, they are vastly improved. And that's not a really talented team. That's not a team you look at and go, oh, well, of course. Yeah, they have all these guys now. Like, no, they got a rookie quarterback. I like Pierce. Collins is fine. But they don't have a superstar weapon on that team. They don't have a superstar defensive player on that team. I mean, I like Jalen Petrie. I like Will Anderson Jr., and I think he could develop into that. But they don't have TJ Watt on that defense. Yet they're sitting here with 2-3 and playing really good football, competing with everybody. I mean, I think you got to give them a lot of credit. They could easily right now be even better record-wise than they are. But 2-3, I think you're pretty happy with it.
No doubt about it. All right. So players really don't have a lot of power in this league, no matter what.
No.
But, you know, tomorrow we'll get tortured with your favorite team taking on the damn Denver Broncos. Why are we watching the Denver Broncos so much? But, you know, after this short week for the Chiefs, you know, the Swifties are pissed off about artificial turf here now. So players can't get changed. I don't know. I think the Swifties are going to get done what the players can't get done there. How about that?
You know what? Maybe. And I hope so. Really, like, it's such a joke that they won't just go to natural grass. Like, that they have to keep fighting this. This idea that the owners are like, well, you know, it's going to cost money to rip it out. You own an NFL team. It's like me paying for a lawnmower. Like, come on.
Rent money. Come on.
You're okay. Like, it's not a big deal here to do this. And, you know, listen, I think this is one of these things, and I felt this way for a couple of years now. Like, let's listen to the players. They're the ones playing on it. Like, if they, and I'm not, listen, I don't know, you know, for people out there who have never done it, like, I've walked on NFL fields that are turf, and I don't know if I've ever walked on a slit film turf field, but like, I've walked on many of these fields that are these rubber pellets, and in theory, it's great because it's softer. It's almost like running on, I guess, I mean, for the lack of better terms, you are essentially. You're running on rubber. I mean, it feels like that. Like it gives a little bit, but unlike grass, where it'll kick out, it'll give completely if necessary. Like it doesn't do that. Obviously, it's an artificial surface. I can see why players don't like doing it. Like I can see why players. Plus, like Kelsey's deal, his ankle was just rolled. It wasn't a big deal. The problem was it got caught, and then it stopped. Now, he got really lucky in the sense that he really didn't get hurt. But, I mean, that's how guys blow their knees out. That's how guys tear their Achilles. And we have enough data now. Look, it's like when artificial turf, like AstroTurf, came out in the 70s, and everybody's like, this is great. It's going to reduce injuries. And then you realize, like, no, man, actually, it's carpet over concrete. It's actually going to make it a lot worse. And, you know, the Dolphins for a brief time at the Orange Bowl had turf, and then they went back to the grass field, right? They only had it for a handful of years. Grass fields are clearly the best option here. They just are. And I think there's this whole idea of, well, consistency, and what if it rains? Okay, fine. Then it rains. So what? Like, it's not a big deal. You have drainage. I mean, in the NFL, like, it's not like, you know, it's not like you're playing out at a park and there's no drainage. It's got drainage. It'll be all right. So, yeah, I think
drainage.
Yeah, incredible.
Please,
yeah.
Give me a break.
I think we're to a point here where, like, come on, just listen to the NFL players and listen to the NFLPA and just put in regular grass fields.
Is Belichick going to come back on the hot seat? Because that's what I've been predicting last offseason, that he'll come after this year. He'll come back on the hot seat. Look what happened this week. Look what's happening with that team. How does Robert Kraft just wait around for the Don Shula record? That'll take 8 years at this pace.
This pace, it may never happen. I mean, they got beat 72-3 in these last two games. And by two teams, by the way, who the Saints are average and the Cowboys just got boat raced. Like, here's my honest answer on this. I think if you're the Pats, at the end of this year, you say to him, you're done being the GM of this team. You're done with that. Like, we're going to bring in our own personnel department. You're not going to have much of a say in it. If he's not willing to do that, hold the press conference. Move on. Because they're in the worst shape of just about any team in the league, maybe not named Denver.
Terrible.
I mean,
dysfunctional, terrible. He looks incompetent without Tom Brady now.
I think what's happened is, listen, they had 20 years of an unbelievable run. And at some point, the party's over. And they did not draft well toward the end of Brady's career in New England. And then, you know, you can mask that when you have Brady because he's Tom Brady. But when he's not there anymore, they turn out the lights. They have not drafted at all over the last handful of years. I mean, defensively, they've drafted a few guys. I think the corner they drafted this year got hurt, Christian Gonzalez, and he's going to be a good player. But, like, they have not drafted well, especially on offense. And you're to a point where, let's be real, in this league, if you don't have a quarterback, you're screwed. I don't care who the coach is. Like, I always have Steelers fans. I know a handful of them who are in my circle of friends who are constantly yelling about, well, you know, if they don't make the playoffs this year, they should get rid of Tomlin. It's like, get rid of Tomlin. You have no quarterback. You can't. What world do you live in? You're not going to win games with Kenny Pickett and Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. You're not going to do it. I still think Belichick can coach, but they have the slowest offense in the league. They have no quarterback. And now you do have the real question of, like, look, Belichick's going to be 72. Like, are you going to bring in a rookie quarterback and have Belichick be the guy who brings him up for 4 or 5 years? I mean, I just don't know if he's going to be around that long, you know, and want to coach that long. So I think there's a real choice here for Kraft to make, who's also in his 80s, by the way, and not getting any younger. Like, do you really want to go down this road? Because I feel like if you're going to draft a rookie quarterback, you should bring in a coach to marry with him and not just sit there and have Belichick coach him for 2 years and then everything changes. I mean, it's gonna have a lot of there's gonna be a lot of tough moments in New England in the coming months, I would think.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easy for Kraft, because he's going to have to eventually make a brutal brutal decision when it's all said and done. It's just one of those deals. Hey, one more thing. Anthony Richardson. As I say to all these running quarterbacks, you got to learn to win from the pocket. And he's already had multiple injuries in a very, very short career so far. This is, I mean, I don't know how much more proof do you need for all these guys when they come into the league. They got to learn to win from the pocket. And I don't know if I saw that in the first couple games because the accuracy was just not there.
I like him. I think that, first of all, the accuracy is the big concern, right? Because it was a problem in high school, it's a problem in college. And typically, if it's a problem in college, it's a problem in the NFL level. So that is a concern. I like the fact also, one thing about that kid, he makes plays. Like he has an innate ability to just make a play. I was super impressed. And they were down 23-0 to the Rams, and he brought them all the way back in that game. Like that's something. For a rookie quarterback in the NFL, that's real. That's doing something. I do worry about him, though. Like, when you're as big as he is, and I saw him in training camp, that kid, it's like watching George Kittle play quarterback. It's unbelievable how big and strong he is. That's a blessing and a curse. Ask Cam Newton. When you're that big, you have a tendency to just go, I can run that guy over. I can do – and maybe you can. But you're not going to run everybody over. And even if you do – win the battle, so to speak, you're going to end up losing the war because it's so many hits on your body. I think Josh Allen, it's the same thing. Like Josh Allen for years now is just, look, he's huge and he can run guys over and he does it. But at some point that bill's got to come due. I mean, you're human. It's a physical toll on your body. I think with Richardson, he just has to learn. Look, there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place to say, I'm going to lower my shoulder and I'm going to try to run this safety over. And there's another, and hell, you guys deal with this with Tua, where Tua's not even that big, and Tua would try to run a guy over, and you'd say, man, just get down. Like, it's okay. I think Richardson, look, this comes full circle. We talked about this at the very beginning. He's in a great spot because I think he has a really good coach. Steichen is a really good offensive-minded coach who helped Herbert out as a rookie, who was with Hurts early. Steichen is the perfect guy for him. They got to put talent around them, okay? But, Steichen can coach. I think he's going to be very good, but he does have to learn. Look, man, there are some times to just go throw it away. It's better than the 4-yard scramble where you're going to get hit. Just throw it away. We'll live with 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and 6. It's cool. And that's something that, when you're in Florida and some kid from Vanderbilt tries to hit you, you're like, all right, this kid, I could stomp on this kid for, and go 20 more yards. You're not doing that in the NFL. I don't care who that guy is. So I think it's a learning process, and it's too bad that he's hurt because he is fun to watch.
What do you got going on, Sports Illustrated, so our folks can check you out, my man?
Yeah, quarterback rankings tomorrow, and then Friday got a matchup to watch in every game that might decide the game. Sunday, my running column, which I do every week, so the front page of SI.com, where you can see that. So that takes us to the end of the week. There's a lot going on. I'm going to Kansas City. I'm actually going as a fan because I'm taking my daughter, Maisie, who's 6, to her first NFL game. She's very excited about that. She's also a huge Taylor Swift fan. And so if Taylor Swift's in the building, Maisie's head is going to explode. But we're going out. I promised her last year I would take her to a game at Arrowhead. So she held me to that promise, and we're going out there tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that.
Good for you. Good for you. Father-daughter moments. That is a beautiful thing. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up next week, my friend. Appreciate you.
It sounds good. Take care.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.